What's going on, guys? My name is Liam and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showcasing my entire iPhone collection as of December 2024. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, for those that have been subscribed to me for a long time, you could probably tell that a lot has changed with my collection. But of course I would hope so, because the last collection video I did was a couple years back. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and turn on all the phones that work, and I'll start from here and end with that one. Now, another thing I would like to say is that I do have an iPhone 2G somewhere around, but since I've moved, I haven't been able to find it. It's nothing special, it needs a new battery, so it doesn't even turn on regardless, but I figured I would mention that. Starting off, we have this boxed iPhone 3G. Right here, it even has the little microfiber fingerprint remover for the screen that came from Apple. This device is in amazing condition on the front and back. However, as of recent times, even though it does seem to power on, it doesn't want to actually boot. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to hard reset it with iTunes, and hopefully that fixes it, but for now, it just kind of stays on the Apple logo for most of the time. Next up, we've got this 8GB iPhone 3G. This phone works totally fine. I believe it's on iOS 4. It's just a generic one, except it does have a couple of apps. So you see we've got Shazam, the Weather Channel, Pandora, all this kind of stuff right there. It's kind of a cool phone because it does have those apps, but of course none of those work nowadays. Moving along, I have a white 16GB iPhone 3G. This phone works totally fine besides the power button. Unfortunately, that's never worked, so I had to kind of keep it charged to make this video. And yeah, as you can see, I'm pretty sure it's also running iOS 4, but it has a lot of different interesting apps from back in the day. Look at that Amazon logo. Oh yeah, IMDb. Yeah, this one is definitely an interesting one, and I'm glad I have it. But like I said, the power button does absolutely nothing, so it just kind of has to stay on until it dies. Here's that 3G doing its weird stuff. But moving along, we've got another iPhone 3G. This one is another 8GB one, and this one works totally fine. Oh, there we go. Another iOS 4 device. Nothing special about this one. Finally, the last of the 3Gs. It's another black 8GB model. These are honestly the most popular ones, so they're pretty easy to get your hands on. This phone works totally fine. As you can see, has no issues. Yet again, another iOS 4 device. Here's an interesting one I made a long time ago. This was a non-working iPhone 3GS, a 16GB version to be exact. I gutted the display, I took off the covers on the motherboard, and it's kind of just a showpiece for now. One day I'll get a non-working screen that isn't cracked, and I'll swap that onto this because I think it's cool. It looks good on a shelf. For sure. You see the insides of this thing. It's pretty cool. But moving along, we've got my only other iPhone 3GS. This one is worse for wear, to be honest, but it works totally fine. There's no issues at all with this one. And I don't remember exactly what iOS this one is running. It's running 6.1.6, and it works totally fine. Moving along to the iPhone 4s, we've got two of them right here. This first one is, I believe, yep, this is my jailbroken iPhone 4. I believe this is a 16GB version, and as you can see, I've got it jailbroken. This was a phone that I've had for a long time, ever since I think middle school. And yeah, excuse the language on there, but as you can see, this one works totally fine. This is honestly a pretty cool phone to still have, that's for sure. Moving along, we have a regular iPhone 4. This one works totally fine. It's just a fully up-to-date regular one. Nothing too special about this. I think this one is an 8GB version, so there's that. Moving along, we have my childhood phone. This was an iPhone 4S that I had in middle school. It was my first proper phone outside of my collection. As you can see, this is a white version. It's a 16GB and it works totally fine. There's no issues with it at all. I still got some apps from my childhood, including Freetone and stuff like that. That was an app because I didn't have a SIM card at the time. It let me message people over Wi-Fi. Cool little phone right there. We'll go ahead and place that back in its box. And right here, we have an iPhone 4. Unfortunately, this one has some software issues, and of course it's shattered back and front. So this is really just a parts phone. It's stuck on this. I literally can't get it to do anything else besides that. I've tried to restore it. It literally does nothing. So yeah, it's just kind of a parts phone, I guess. So we'll put that to the side right there. Last of the iPhone 4S's is another 16GB iPhone 4S. As you can see by the power off screen, it's running a very low version of iOS. I believe 7.0.1 or 0.4, one of those to be exact. And as you can see, this one works totally fine. There's no issues with it whatsoever. It's in pretty decent shape as well. And yeah, moving along, we've got my iPhone 5. This is the only 5 that I own, unfortunately. However, this one runs iOS 9 instead of iOS 10 or anything like that. So it is a little special in that regard, being that it is not fully up to date. And as you can see, I still got some apps on this stuff. I've had this phone for a very long time. Once again, this one has been in my collection for quite a while, and nothing has changed about it. It still works totally fine, no issues. Here we've got a green iPhone 5C. This one is in really good shape, but unfortunately it has no power. I actually got it to vibrate when I plugged in a charger, but besides vibrating twice, it literally does nothing else at all. Next up, we've got my blue iPhone 5C. This is a 16GB version running iOS 10, and it works totally fine. No issues at all. Again, I've got some apps on this one because I've had this phone for a very long time. This one was actually given to me by my grandma when she upgraded to an iPhone 7. So yeah, there's that. Next up, we've got one of my iPhone 5S's. This one needs a battery and a new screen, and it would work totally fine. I think I had to salvage the screen off of this one to fix another one, and I just never put it back. But besides the screen and the battery, this one is working well. I'm actually certain the screen went on this one right here. But regardless, this is another iPhone 5S that I have, a 16GB one with a gold housing and black glass, as you can see. This was a conversion I did a long time ago. I used a space gray iPhone and its internals to turn this gold housing iPhone into this. And I think it's really unique. I think the gold and the black works very, very well together, even to this day. And I honestly don't know why Apple didn't do this instead of using the white glass for this one. Regardless, as you can see, this one works totally fine, including the Touch ID, and this one runs iOS 11. Next up, we've got another iPhone 5S. This one is fully functional, and yet again, this one is an iOS 11 device, and it works totally fine. Moving along to my iPhone 6 right here. I actually had another iPhone 6 that my mom gave me a long time ago. I let my cousin use it and I never got it back. But fortunately, I ended up finding an iPhone 6 literally in the trash at my work. I took it home, tried out a screen on it, and lo and behold, it works totally fine, including the Touch ID. The screen on this thing was absolutely destroyed when I got it, but thankfully, what matters most is that this was not iCloud locked. So I was able to restore it, and as you can see, it works totally fine. This was a screen that I had laying around, so unfortunately it is a little bit cracked along the edges, but I mean, hey, it was a free project, like completely free, so I'm pretty happy with it. We've got another iPhone 6, and as you can see, this one is shattered. It does show the dead power sign, but I left it on the charger for a long time and it just won't turn on at all. Besides that, I have no idea what works and what doesn't work on this thing because I literally just got this like a day ago. So I've got to leave it on the charger for a little bit more, see if it shows any sign of life. But besides that, that's all for that one. Here I have a rose gold iPhone 6S. This is a 64GB version that I restored. Again, this one I purchased smashed and I restored it with a very cheap phone that I got on Mercari. And besides Touch ID, this phone works totally fine. I've got it in this life-proof case, so let me take it out real quick. And as you can see, this phone is in pretty good shape. It definitely was not when I first got it, but once again, I took this trash and I made it treasure, and it lives on in my collection. I actually used to use this phone a lot back in the day, especially when I went on plane rides. That's why I've got so many games on this thing. Next up, we've got another iPhone 6S, and this one is like 1,000 times worse for wear than this one ever was. This phone, believe it or not, functions. It just needs a new screen. It's not FMI locked, so I just have to reset it and repair it. But of course, being that this is an older phone, I want to get a good deal on a parts phone, so that's why it's still in this condition. I just haven't found one yet. Here is an iPhone 7. This thing is absolutely destroyed. It was another phone I found in the trash, believe it or not. This one is FMI off, actually. I just got to get a parts phone once again to try and restore this. But I'm a little hesitant because unfortunately it shows no sign of life when plugged into power. But that hasn't stopped me before, and it won't stop me now. As long as I get one that is cheap enough, I'm going to try and repair this one. Here is my iPhone 7 256GB, and this phone works totally fine. I actually bought this on eBay for 40 bucks. I got a super good deal on this phone. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it besides the battery. I'd say the battery probably needs replaced, but besides that, everything on this phone functions as intended. This one runs iOS 15.8.3, and like I said, it's a good little phone. There's not much wrong with it cosmetically. There's nothing wrong with it mechanically, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with this purchase. Next up, we've got my beloved iPhone 8. I actually love this phone right here. This is another 256GB version that I got off of eBay for only, I think it was about 60 bucks. This phone functions totally fine. There are no issues with it. This one runs iOS 16.7.10. I took the case off so I could show you guys the back. It's not in the best shape ever, but you know what? The case definitely helps protect it. Third to last, we've got my iPhone SE 3rd generation. I bought this in a phone lot that I did not record an unboxing video for, unfortunately. But this phone actually works totally fine. There isn't an issue with it. Besides it being cracked on the back, I think it was a pretty good deal, and it's a good addition to my collection for sure. Oh, I forgot to say, this is, I think, only a 128GB version, but still, not bad. Alright, second to last, we've got my iPhone 11. This was a super good deal off of Facebook Marketplace. I bought it for only $100 with literally no issues. The battery life was at 100% when I first got this phone, and I've had it for about 2 months, I'd say, and I really do enjoy using this. It is my secondary device that I bring around every day, my main device being my S22 Plus that I am recording on right now. This phone runs iOS 18.0.1, and I believe, yeah, it's a 128GB model. So $100 off of Facebook Marketplace, you really can't complain. This thing is in literal perfect condition. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I love this phone a lot. Now, honestly, I probably shouldn't even include this phone because it's a Motorola, but I'm going to just for the sake of why not. This is the Motorola iTunes phone. So it has a little bit to do with Apple, that's for sure. You can see the iTunes button right there. This phone works totally fine. There you go. As you can see, it turns on, it works totally fine. These are extremely rare nowadays. Even has a light up side panel right there. And when I hit the iTunes button, I'd appreciate if it would work. Ah, there we go. It's just being slow. This was the first integration between an actual iPod and a mobile phone before they actually started making the iPhone. As you can see, here's the iPod-like interface. And honestly, I just thought this would be a cool addition to the collection. Even though this isn't a true Apple product, it still was worked on by Apple. I'm gonna go ahead and power this thing off before it does so itself. Such a cool animation. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this collection update. Once again, this was December of 2024, right before the new year, 2025. If you enjoyed, feel free to hit the like button, and if you want to see more tech content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications because, you know what? That's almost all I make besides car stuff. if you want to see that kind of stuff, go ahead and subscribe too, because I make a decent bit of that as well. But with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys have an amazing day or night, depending on where you are, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out.